Sometimes we have lunch together, sometimes we have mountain hikes together, we see each other not too often. I wish it would be more, but, you know, my friend, she said one day, she said to me, I have another friend, I have a friend too, a wonderful friend, you should meet him. I said, well, I'd love to meet him. And this, my friend, is Claudia Baumhöfer, publisher of the audio Hörverlag in Munich. I was curious who her friend will be. Claudia, come on stage. Introduce your friend. Yeah, my friend, Claudia. This is DLD. Friends Girlfriends Network.
Yes, so I'm here to introduce Frank Schätzing, which is a complex pleasure. Because this guy has so many talents. In one of his former lives, he was an art director, successful. Another time, he was a founder of an advertising company based in Cologne, very successful. He's a composer. He composes musician where the whales start to cry. It was one of the saying of a common friend. He's playing 4 or 6 or 7 instruments brilliantly. He's a singer. He is, I should forget, he is the model for underwear.
Just as an example.
Just for the people of you who think Germans are so one-sided. I mean, this is the guy who will break every prejudice about this. But the reason why he's here is because he's one of the most successful writers in Germany in the last 10 years. He is somebody who did The Schwarm a couple of years ago. The Schwarm was translated in more than 30 languages. He sold more than 4 million copies.
4 million copies. 4 million copies. Who did read The Schwarm?
Everybody.
Oh, thank you. Who here the audiobook? Okay. It's a key because Frank at the audiobook, this is what we're doing together. He did the script. He was a director of more than 25 actors. He composed the music, he played the music. And if you now think he is very controlling, yes, sometimes, but this is now also in his former life. The Swarm came up and Uma Thurman bought the rights. So I think in the next year we can see the film. And recently he published Limit. Limit is I would say it's a typical Frank Schätzing because he is very well known for his brilliancy in investigation, scientific things. He is one of the rare guys who can do very complex things, put them down and explain them very easily. If you need an equivalent, I would say it's like Michael Crichton. And Limit is his better. He is, since it came out last October, he is on the best-selling list together with Dan Brown and Herta Müller, who recently received the Nobel Prize. So he's here to tell us how in the year 2025 the world, which is very close, courage, the world will look. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my special friend. This is also one of his not small talents of friendship, Frank Schätzing.
Thank you very much, Claudia. Well, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and a warm welcome. I hope you're not too sad that today I avoid showing you my underwear, because we want to talk about serious things. I'm the guy to tell you something about the future. And I do that against all warnings, because I was told that future is a very unpopular subject at the moment, because we got a crisis. And indeed, more and more people get afraid of the future in these days, as times seem to get worse and worse. But I knew all that already 2 years ago, and nevertheless I wrote a 1,300 pages novel about the year 2025, which runs gratifying well. And that encouraged me to talk to you today about one of the greatest errors in human history, namely that we have to be afraid of the future. Actually, whenever man thought about tomorrow, he felt like being a victim of a sinister conspiracy. A conspiracy of the gods, a conspiracy of the mighty, of extraterrestrials, of his parents-in-law, whatever. Still, too many people are convinced that everything is already decided, or rather collusive, and that we are driven onto a disastrous ending helplessly. Especially Germans, though we are one of the richest nations on planet Earth, are world champions in catastrophizing. And this is good for nothing. In fact, no one has to be afraid of the future, believe me. For one simple reason. Future doesn't yet exist. And how can you be afraid of something that doesn't exist? But that means that each of us, every second, every minute, every day, has to be aware of his responsibility for the times to come. And he has to act, instead of staring paralyzed into the scary tomorrow. We will exactly get the future we create today. And it's the positive thinking which leads to positive results. Well, you might say, look at Copenhagen. Do we not have any reason to be afraid? And I answer, folks, we survived George W. Bush and he was even worse, so stop moaning. In fact, future is a rumor. The only prognosis which always has been granted and become true is that things never turn out the way you expect. Nevertheless, it's big fun to imagine the future. Every creator needs a vision. To decide which future we want to live in, we have to imagine it. And therefore, let's travel now far away for the next 12 minutes, right into the year 2050, to check out if there is any truth to all the rumors about the future. The movie, please. Number one, high-rise buildings are getting higher and higher. These Yemeni buildings from the 16th century are among the first skyscrapers ever, not so different from the Frankfurt skyline. However, since architects began popping Viagra, the competition has taken on bizarre forms. In fact, the city of tomorrow is banking less on heights than on perfect networking. Such a city like a living organism where all systems communicate with each other, fast and efficiently via data connections. With one control center ensuring the smooth running of urban life, for example, traffic. Rumor number two, cars will fly. What's swooshing by so elegantly here has been keeping inventors and traffic researchers busy for decades. For various reasons, our vision of the future is inseparably connected to flying cars. Even though the first results were not very convincing, research continues tirelessly. Blocked cities, mega traffic on highways. One could escape all that, if only there were flying cars. At the beginning of the millennium, the American inventor Paul Muller managed to actually come up with a completely functional flying car, 600 kilometers per hour fast and visually appealing, the Muller Sky Car. With 15 liters per 100 kilometers, this vertical takeoff vehicle is even relatively fuel efficient in comparison. But it is still too expensive, at least for private users. Flying cars will come, but very likely only for medical transportation, firefighters and police. Moreover, highway in the skies would be too unsafe and too expensive, but first, too noisy. Rumor number 3. Robots will take over. Cyborgs are among the protagonists of all scenarios of the future. Robots have been populating science fiction from the beginning, and they almost always tend to develop an unsettling life of their own. Already in Fritzland's Metropolis, a robot played a rather dubious role, typical for succeeding cyborgs whose first official act was taking over control from their creators, more Frankenstein-esque than being a technological blessing. In doing so, not every robot was as sexy as this one, a machine fatale, if you will. Most of them, except for a few, up until have been putting the fear of guns. Number 4, robots will do all our work. Now that's somewhat more likely to happen. In fact, they have been doing it for many years now. But what about the oft-quoted intelligent all-rounders, the artificial friends who will unfold their abilities to humanity's benefit? Here is one of them, Asimov, a friendly little fellow who, by all means, is able to offer a helping hand to his master. Asimov is not made up, but the world's most advanced humanoid robot at the moment, and he really can do a lot. Dance, for example. Asimov is rightly perceived as a small revolution. He comes pretty close to the idea that we have of robots known from science fiction. His biggest achievement, though, is something that is taken for granted by almost every human being: being able to walk. For indeed, developers have been laboring for the simplest of movements for years now. In the human brain, many simultaneous processes are necessary for us to be able to take a simple step. That is something that robots have not been able to do for most of the time. But in return, they are able to learn amazingly fast. If you introduce the world to them step by step, they will save their impressions in the same way as children learn, will put their knowledge in correlation and thus will expand their view of the world. There's one thing, however, that robots do not develop: true intelligence. As much as they might learn, for now they will stay what they've already been in the past. Soulless machines that can do only what they have been programmed to do. Put differently, robots are empty-headed, but at least they are without any ambitions for world dominance. Maybe it's good the way it is for the robots. For he who is too intelligent, as history has shown, might quickly end up with a drinking problem. 5. Energy is running out. Not a rumor but a fact, you will say, but that is not entirely true. Because our main source of energy, the sun, is almost inexhaustible. The question is how we can use it the best. Solar cells are the most popular method, but there are different, a lot more venturesome approaches. One of them is rebuilding the sun on Earth. Here we are in a fusion reactor. It's a little loud and turbulent because hydrogen is being merged with helium-3, an element that can be only found on the moon. Unlike a nuclear fission, the reaction with helium-3 produces environmental friendly energy, and that in amounts that can supply humanity for thousands of years. Theoretically. Right now, helium-3 is still on the moon, without someone having gone there to expedite it. But that shall change, and the work of the reactors is running in high gear as well. Nevertheless, it will pay off to keep developing solar cells further. As they are left unprotected to environmental influences, resistibility is a big topic. Today's solar panels are pretty resistible. The problem, however, is energy efficiency. At only 20%, it's not very high. Therefore, scientists are working on new materials to use sunlight even more efficiently. Rumor number 6. Man will colonize the moon. At the beginning of the millennium, a return to the moon seemed unimaginable. Nothing was left of the euphoria from back in the day. There were enough other problems to be solved. In the meantime, water was found on the moon, and now everybody is talking about establishing bases on the moon. The USA, Russia, China, Japan, India, the Europeans, everybody is headed for a natural satellite to settle, explore, and maybe build their own city in space. However, the moon will never be a second Earth. But there are reasons for establishing an outlook site, like in order to learn more about the origin of the universe, and thus more about us. Moreover, with helium-3, the moon has an element in stock that might help solve our energy problems. And then there is also space tourism. Hotels on the moon provide a relaxing and at the same time exciting alternative to everybody who deems Earth too crowded. After all, where else do you get a room with Earth view? At reduced gravity, you will experience a never-before-known lightness of being. All is given that you can afford the moon. Rumor number 7. Space travel gets affordable for everyone. For now, a journey into space is an incredibly expansive and arduous project, which might change, assuming that you are willing to travel into space by elevator. In fact, the idea of the space elevator is more than 100 years old, and at the same time more current than ever, as all large space agencies are working on it. More precisely, they are working on a material that can be used for a 36,000 kilometers long rope that won't tear, connecting Earth and a space station. Such a space elevator would drastically reduce cost and simplify the journey into space enormously. You arrive on an island in the middle of the Pacific. You take your luggage and enter a cabin. You buckle up. The controls let you know that it's almost time to take off. You take a deep breath and just speed upwards into space. Add an elevator rope. Have a safe trip. seen the year 2050? No, of course not. You have seen a movie about how 2050 could look like. And if you don't want to live in a world like that, it will probably look different. It's up to us here and now. It's up to you. Of course, you can't create 2050 right now. You can't even create 2011, but only the immediate following moment. As the future itself doesn't exist, our only verifiable reality is now, followed by another now, another now, and now. But enough nows will finally lead you to 2050, given that you are still alive. Concerning to me, I wish you the very best for the future. Thank you.